Where's your Gemara? The one on top of it.
Up there, I can't get
You can't get it?
all the way up there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Where's the
The delay was
Uh,
trying to understand the sugya with my
Okay, we're on the Nun Dalet Amud Beis. But just to backtrack a little bit, the Mishnah said in Machlok is about Ma'aser Sheni. Some was Mekadosh woman with Ma'aser Sheni, some was Mekadosh woman with Hektish. By Ma'aser Sheni, Rav Meir said that it's not good, and the reason is because Ma'aser Sheni is not his money. It's Ma'aser Mammon Gavoa, and the Gemara brought some sukkim about that. Kodesh Lashem, it should remain Kodesh. And Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's Mammon Hedyot, that it is considered his money. But a chiluk between Shogeg and Mezid, that the why came out. The reason why Shogeg, yesterday's Gemara spoke about the fact that she didn't mean to accept Kiddushin if it's going to be Ma'aser Sheni, because she's going to have to go to Yerushalayim, and she didn't understand that when he gave her the Kiddushin. The Gemara also spoke about maybe he also wasn't happy about it. That was yesterday's Gemara, that it was a mistake in the Kiddushin. The Hektish is also Machlokis, and over there everybody holds that the question is going to be dependent on, did it go out l'chulin? The halach is when you moil behektish, and then it goes out l'chulin, then it's going to become his money. So if it was meila, it'll be his money, and it'll go out l'chulin. It also might be an issue about if she get married under those circumstances. That's also an issue about Majid and Shogeg. But here it says the hektish is machlokas of Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Each one holds that sometimes yes, sometimes not, but they took opposite opinions. The Mezid Kiddush, B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush, Dibri of Meir. Rabbi says the opposite. B'Shogeg Kiddush, Mezid Lo Kiddush. So if anything's going to be Kiddushin over here, it has to be that it went out l'chulin. If it didn't go out l'chulin, then it's not his money. It's Hekdish's money. Even if it did come l'chulin, there might be an issue if they didn't know about it. There's a Shogeg, so maybe you weren't happy about it, then you didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. So that's going to be Rabbi Meir, maybe. That's going to be a question. Mezid Kiddush, B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush. Yesterday we did one pshat in the Gemara. Or even the two pshatim in the Gemara yesterday. Yes, we did yesterday. Nun Dalet Amud Beis and Nun Hey and Aleph. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. 1 second. We did yesterday Nun Gimel Amud Beis and Dalet Amud Aleph. We had two pshatim in Rabbi Meir of Hektish. One was because she didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. That's the reason why B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush. The Mezid Kiddush, because he holds that even B'Mezid also, the Mezid means there's no problem about understanding. They knew that marrying with Hektish, and they're going to be Mechal with. But they did, so they did it intentionally. They didn't have favor, but they're still going to be Kiddushin. But Rabbi Meir says that if it was B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush, yesterday the Gemara said two pshatim. Either because Rabbi Yochanan said the reason is because she didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. She didn't want to do the Avera of being Mechal with. So that's why it's not good Kiddushin. Then that was Rabbi Yochanan, and Rav said the reason is because there's something special. It's talking Hacham it's talking about Dafka. She was Mekadosh or not with any Hektish. Hektish a big day kahuna. The big day kahuna is special because even when it is Kodesh, it has to be sometimes a person is not a malach, he's not an angel, and therefore it must be that he's allowed to use it, even though he's being done from it. So something which is like that by definition, even when it's Kodesh, it has to be used a little bit for personal use also. So there's not going to be Meila, even if you misused it, unless you misused it B'Mezid. So that would be two pshatim in the Mishnah of B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush Dibri Rabbi Meir. One pshat is because she didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. She didn't mean to take Hektish. She didn't want to do the Avera according to Rabbi Meir, and therefore she didn't mean to accept Kiddushin. And the second pshat of Rav was because it's talking about a kind of Hektish which would be permissible to use it even when it's Hektish, because a person is not a malach, and therefore, even if he misused it, it's only going to be Me'ila if it was B'Mezid, not if it was B'Shogeg. That's what we had yesterday. B'Mezid Kiddush, because it is Muschal, or Meir holds that it becomes Muschal even B'Mezid, and there's no question about mistakes over there. And B'Shogeg Lo Kiddush, either because she didn't mean to get married like that, or because there's no Me'ila on Big Day Kuna, B'Shogeg, since even when it is usable, it also has to be somewhat used for personal use. That was yesterday's Gemara. Just a little bit to point out Nun Daled and Aleph, when the Gemara came into the sugya about Big Day Kuna, the Gemara brought in the subject about
Yeah. Okay, good. Thanks for calling.
this is Nun Daled and Aleph. The Gemara went to the subject of Yerushalayim. The Gemara talks about the stones of Yerushalayim, things that are from Shori Alishka, if it's Kodesh or not. And that has to do with Mamish, the subject of Yerushalayim. It says over there that you build the walls of the city from the Shori Alishka. And the question is it considered Kodesh or not? And it comes out of Machlokes. If the stones of Yerushalayim, all the things that they built from Shori Alishka is a Kodesh. And Rav Yehuda there's a Machlokes. Some hold yes, some hold not. And Rav Meir, he held that even if it is Kodesh, but you're not allowed to misuse it. But if you misuse it, it might not be Mila. So just living in Yerushalayim now is the walls and the floor and the lighting is not made from Shori Lishka nowadays. So of course there's no question about no issue nowadays. But in times of the Beis Hamikdash, it'd be machlokes if you'd be allowed to use the buildings and lightings and everything, the floor. If you'd be allowed to use Yerushalayim for your own personal interest, if you'd be using it intentional misuse. That comes out a very when someone writes about Yerushalayim, he has to speak about the question as the Me'ilah in the uses of Yerushalayim. So we got till Nun Daled Amud Beis, and we're on the first line. Try to make that bigger over here. Top line. Last word. Amar Ula. The way I understand, this is a third shot. I can't say for sure that I'm right, but I think this is a third shot we're having now in Rav Meir. We have already two shotim on Nun Gimel Amud Beis, Nadal Amud Aleph, and now Nadal Amud Beis. Each one is a different opinion. First was Rav Yochanan on Nun Gimel Amud Beis. He's the one who said that if she would have known, she wouldn't have wanted to get married like this because she's being mostly hektish to chulin. So it's a mistake. She didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. Nun Daled Amud Aleph was Rav, and he said the reason is because it's talking about such a kind of a hektish which you're allowed to use even when it's hektish because we're not angels like Big Day Kahuna.
Because of one example.
After that example, that
one example
is the case.
To knock out
no, that's the only case. In that case, that's going to be the case where there's going to be where Meir is going to say that low kiddush because it didn't go l'chulin. In order to be married, in order to be Kiddushin, it has to be that's not hektish money. As if it's actually hektish is money, so then you didn't give her any money. It has to be that it became chulin. And Rav Meir holds, according to this pshat, Rav's pshat, so Rav Meir holds that it didn't become chulin because Big Tikkun is a kind of a hektish that even when it's hektish, it's allowed to be used. And we're not angels, so a person has to use it a little bit for his own. So therefore, even if you misused it, and it was not just because you had to, but you really misused it, if it was b'shogig, there's no milah, only if it was b'mezid. So we have already two pshatim. And now I think the Gemara is starting to do a third pshat. Ula said in the name of Bar Pada, that was his name. He holds that b'shogeg, it's not mischala. This is a pshat. When Rav was talking about the subject, he says we never found such a Rav Meir. That's how it started off on Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph. Just to scroll back a second, he said Rav said we didn't find such a Rav Meir saying that, but Bar Pada does say so. Bar Pada says that's Pshat Rav Meir. That's what it says on the page over here, top of the page. It says Bar Pada says that Rav Meir used to say hektish b'shogig is not mischala. Back to the Mishnah, how come Rav Meir says that if someone was mekadosh a woman with hektish b'shogig, it's not a good Kiddushin? Because he holds that it didn't become chulin. If it didn't become chulin, then it's hektish money, and he didn't give her any money. This was the question. Rav didn't agree to this. Rav Yochanan didn't agree to it. But this is what Bar Pada says, that according to Rav Meir, b'shogig, it doesn't become chulin. But we know something about b'shogig, it is mischala. V'lo amru b'shogig mischala ela inyan korban b'vad. It's not mischala. It doesn't really become chulin. Just he's a korban mila. The person does say that if a person I forgot exactly the pasuk, but it does talk about being well b'shogig. And now the Gemara is claiming that according to Meir, it doesn't become chulin. The hektish by using it doesn't become chulin. So how come there is such a din about meila? It doesn't mean to say it's chayv korban. The Gemara is suggesting that when someone uses hektish, he benefits from hektish b'shogig, he's chayv korban meila, but it doesn't become chulin. But the Gemara rejects that. The Gemara doesn't see a reason that it can be chayv korban if it doesn't become chulin. If I don't understand why not. he misused hektish. Even if I would have thought that has nothing to do with the point of his going al chulin. He misused hektish. I should bring a korban for that. But the Gemara says no. The korban is only for changing the hektish to become chulin. When you took it out of the kedusha, you made it chulin. That's what the korban is for. And if you're telling me that he holds that b'shogeg it doesn't go out of its kedusha, so why should he bring a korban? That's the Gemara objecting to Barpada. It can't be that it doesn't become chulin and it's chayav a korban mila. Ella ki Avrohom parish mishmei the Barpada. So he says differently. Before that was Ula. Ula said in the name of Barpada, but the Gemara rejects that version of Barpada. But when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he explained in the name of Barpada a little different. The same thing as Barpada was quoted as before. B'shogeg, it doesn't lose its kedusha. If someone benefited from hektish b'shogeg, it doesn't lose its kedusha. That before you had the word ela le'inyan korban. That the Gemara says can't be. The correct version should be which Rashi explains means not dafka achila, but it means anything where it got consumed. If it got used up, Rashi says a few more examples over here. I think I'm not sure. Rashi says eating it and also using it as fuel. So there is going to be hektish because it's not here anymore. So that's even if he did a b'shogeg, that's going to be the case. That's going to be korban mila. But if he just used it in a way that it didn't get consumed, or maybe Rashi says dafka this thing about selling it. I'm not sure Rashi is lose dafka, but that's I think maybe Rashi not dafka. But the point is that only by eating it when it's consumed, then if you did a b'shogeg, then it's going to be a korban mila. But something that you didn't consume, it's still here. So b'shogeg, it doesn't lose its kedusha. So we finished three pshatim in Rav Meir.
Remind me when Meir says
Rav Meir says that if a man is mekadesh a woman with a hektish b'shogeg, it's not a good kedusha. And the question is why not? The first pshat was Rabbi Yochanan that said because she didn't mean this was b'shogeg, not because of the avera b'shogeg. Since she didn't know about it, he didn't know, she didn't know about it. So they didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. She didn't want to make hektish become chulin. Under that condition, she didn't mean to get married. That's why it's not Kiddushin. And the Gemara even said that's why it's not Kiddushin. So then the Taka doesn't go to chulin because even though hektish goes the whole time, hektish does go out with shogeg. There's only the third terrace is going to say that it doesn't. But Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, they said that it does go b'shogeg. Rabbi Yochanan's terrace was that she didn't mean to get married under such circumstances. It wasn't her das, and therefore it's not a good Kiddushin. Then Agav, the salts are not going to go to chulin because it wasn't a good kedusha. Nothing happened either. The second teretz was a Rav who said that it's talking about a kind of a kedusha that you're allowed to use for your own personal use, even when it's being used like a big dekuna, and therefore because lo nitna shatar l'malachei hasharis, so therefore even if you misused it, the shogeg it also doesn't go out to chulin, only if you did it b'mezid. So that's not. He also holds that b'shogeg is mischalos. That's a special thing by big dekuna that is made to be used even when you're doing that vote, that's also partially being used for yourself. So since it's impossible to be enamored, so that's why then it's not going to be mischal b'shogeg. And then we have the third teretz, which was Barpada, that he holds in general. Rav Meir holds b'shogeg. It's not mischala. Only if you eat it, you consume it, then it's gone. They did b'shogeg, then it's going to be meila. But if it's something that you just use, but here you spent it over here, but it still didn't get ruined, so over there, there's not going to be Mila B'Shogeg. Three pshatim in Rav Meir. And now the Gemara goes into halacha. New sugya. We can make it two dots. We finish three pshatim in Rav Meir. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ada bar Rav. Halacha Rav Meir b'Maiser. So now the Gemara is juggling back. Maiser and Hektish. We have two sugyas, and the Gemara doesn't mind juggling. We have to hold up a little bit. Halacha Rav Meir b'Maiser. What was b'Maiser? Two different folks altogether, like no shaykhs. The Maiser and the Hektish l'chora is not related to each other. The Mishnah put it three cases. It spoke about Amakadosh Bechelko, and then about Ma'aseh Sheni, and then about Hektish. And the Gemara talk about Ma'aseh Sheni and Hektish, even though they're different criteria that they're arguing about. By Ma'aseh, the issue was over by Ma'aseh Sheni. Who does it belong to? Does Ma'aseh Sheni belong to Hashem, and just lets you eat it? Or does Ma'aseh Sheni belong to you? If it belongs to Hashem, then you can't be Makadosh a woman because it doesn't belong to you. If it belongs to you, so you may be Makadosh a woman. It might be us, maybe not allowed to, but it's your money. So therefore, it'd be a good Kiddushin. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir by Ma'aser Sheni said it's not your money. Ma'aser Sheni Mamon Gavoa, and therefore it's not a good Kiddushin. Rabbi Yehuda held that it is your money. He spoke about shogeg and Mezid if she didn't mean to do it. Okay, that was a question about a shogeg. But Rabbi Meir says that's not your money, B'chlal. So Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav Barav, Allah HaKamei b'Ma'aser, that Ma'aser Sheni is considered Hashem's money. It's not your money. So therefore it's not a good Kiddushin. Not like Rabbi Yehuda holds that it is your money. And the only question is if you knew about it, you didn't know about it. But that's the main machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Meir, is it your money or not? Allah HaKamei b'Ma'aser, that Ma'aser Sheni Mamon Gavoa. How come? Because we found a Mishnah like that. We're going to find the Stam Mishnah that holds that Ma'aser Sheni is considered Hashem's money. That's the reason to pass like a Meir, because of a Stam Mishnah. And Allah HaKav Yehuda b'Hektish, this is the second thing that Rav Baba said. Allah HaKav Yehuda b'Hektish, that what? Over there, the question is a different question altogether. The question b'Hektish was, is a Meschalel, a Shogeg, is a Meschalel b'Mezid? Over here, Rav Meir said that the shogeg is not Meschalel, b'Mezid is Meschalel. And Rabbi Yehuda said the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda said that the shogeg is Meschalel, b'Mezid is not Meschalel. And also, and the Gemara just discussed Rav Meir by Hektish, that was the discussion before. The Gemara seems to, okay, but Rabbi Yehuda seems to say b'Mezid is not Meschalel, has nothing to do with any kind of mistake over there. And he says b'Mezid is, Rabbi Yehuda holds b'Mezid is not Meschalel because he holds that Hektish is not Meschalel b'Mezid. If somebody misuses Hektish intentionally, it doesn't become Chulin. And by Shogeg it does. And he's going to, and against Rav Meir. Meir said that by Shogeg it's a low Kiddush. Maybe it doesn't become Meschalel b'Shogeg. By Mezid it does. Allah can be the Hektish. And also, we have a Stam Mishnah like that issue. Again, there are two subjects. One is going to be if I is considered yours, and the machlokes by Hektish is going to be, when does it become chulin? When you misuse hektish, when does it become chulin? Is it b'mezid or b'shogeg? The pasuk like Rabbi Yehuda but that b'shogeg it does go to chulin. That's why it's a good Kiddushin. And the b'mezid it doesn't go to chulin. That's why it's not a good Kiddushin. Now we're going to bring the proofs. Where you got it from? So it's juggling. We're talking back and forth from Meiser and hektish. Rav Meir ben Meiser Mahi. Where do you find the Stam Mishnah like Rav Meir that Meiser is considered Hashem's money? It's not considered your money. You're allowed to eat it in Yerushalayim, but it's not your money.
Excuse me, I thought that a Stam Mishnah is we assume it's Rebbe Meir. And here it's saying,
it could be, but
since it's Stam, it's like Rebbe Meir. It seems like it's different than saying
but the
Stam Mishnah is Rebbe Meir.
But the issue we're looking at is that halachic is Stam Mishnah. If you say that halachic is Stam Mishnah, then here it happens to be that we know Rebbe Meir's opinion from our Mishnah. So we're going to now see a Stam Mishnah. The issue is not going to be if it's Rebbe Meir or not. It's going to be under the klal halachic is Stam Mishnah. That if you find that Rebbe said a Mishnah without saying any names, that means they meant to say that's not halacha. And if you find in our Mishnah you have machlokes Rebbe Meir and Yehuda, you have names, you know, and when you have names, and then usually halacha is maybe like Yehuda against Rebbe Meir. But the Gemara says we found the Stam Mishnah like Rebbe Meir. That's the reason to pass like it. Where do you find the Stam Mishnah that says Ma'aser Sheni is one gavoa? That's what I'm looking out for. He said that this is Stam Mishnah. Found the Stam Mishnah like a Meir that Ma'aser Sheni is Hashem's money. The Tanan. Kerem Rivoy. B'Shama Yomim. Ein lo chomish ve'ein lo biyah. U'B'Yisrael Yomim yesh lo. B'Shama Yomim yesh lo pet ve'yesh lo odolus. U'B'Yisrael Yomim kulo lo gas. That's a Mishnah about Kerem Rivoy. Kerem Rivoy means the fourth year of trees. That the first 3 years is Orla, and then the fourth year is Kerem Rivoy. Some have the Gersh and Neta Rivoy. The Gemara says whenever it says Kerem Rivoy, this is machlokes if the Gersh should be Kerem Rivoy and Neta Rivoy. Rivoy means the fourth year of produce of the tree. Some hold that it only applies to grapes. That's a Kerem Rivoy. Some say it applies to all fruit trees, so that's going to be Neta Rivoy, which is not our subject right now, but Kerem Rivoy. So the one question is, does it have a chomish or not? What does a chomish mean? What do you do with Kerem? What do you do with Kerem Rivoy? What are you supposed to do with the fourth year fruit? 3 years of Orla, it's awesome. What do you do with the fourth year? So he's supposed to, has same thing as Ma'aser Sheni. He's supposed to bring it to Yerushalayim, either the Yerushalayim, the Tara, that's the same halach as Ma'aser Sheni.
Right.
So Beishamai say,
Let's go Kerem Rivoy.
right. Beishamai Yomer, nowadays we pod it. That's same we do Ma'aser Sheni. You pod it.
There's no way to bring it.
So the same with Ma'aser Sheni also, there's no way to bring it. So you pod it, and then you could, then it becomes kuman. And you put it on the point. You pod the Ma'aser Sheni onto a point. That's what the mashgiach will do. So Ma'aser Ken Ravai, right? Not the Ravai is the same thing as Ma'aser Sheni. Not as Machlokes is it not?
Right? I think I heard your brother say
Mhm.
when he did my fruits.
So here the question is it mamish like Ma'aser Sheni or not? Bishama say ein lo chomish ve'ein lo beer. Beisay lo omim yesh lo chomish. What does chomish mean? When you pour the Ma'aser Sheni, if you pour your own Ma'aser Sheni, you have to add on a fifth, and that's the pasuk in the Torah, right at the end of Sefer Vayikra. A few psukim before the end of Sefer Vayikra. I forgot exactly. If you go Yigal Lish Mimasril Chamish so you say for love. If you pour the own Ma'aser Sheni, you have to add on a fifth. If you're doing something else,
it's mutter, but you have to pay for it.
yes, a lot of people the Ma'aser Sheni. He says if it's far, so you're allowed to change it onto money. Take the money to Yerushalayim. Over there, you buy food, and the food becomes hektish, becomes Ma'aser Sheni. But when you're being quoted, you have to add on a fifth. So Beishamai says no. Ein lo chomish. You don't have to add on a fifth. Also, ein lo beer. There's no halacha about beer. About beer, there's a din of beer Ma'aser Sheni that when it comes to time, 3 years. What does it say? I forgot the exact lashon over there. That if you're supposed to keep, if you didn't give out all of the things that you're supposed to do, so you're supposed to destroy it. So he says that's only for Ma'aser Sheni. It's not for Kerem Ravai. These two halachas of chomish and beer don't apply to Kerem Ravai. He still says it does. He still says it's almost like Ma'aser Sheni. It has din of chomish. It has din of beer. Another machlokes. Beisham yomim yesh lo pet v'yesh lo olalos. V'yisel omim kulu lagas. You have Kerem Ravai. The halacha usually when you have chulin, when you have regular chulin means after the 4th year, you have regular 5th year, 6th year, all the trees. So there's a din of peret and overloads. Peret means a kind of a leket that when you're picking the grapes and individual grapes fall off, so he's supposed to leave it for the poor.
Even if they fell off by themselves.
They fell off as you're picking it. If it fell off by itself, I don't think so. The same thing as leket. The leket when you're harvesting, when you're cutting the grain. So if it falls, so you're supposed to leave it for the poor. It says how many? 2, 3, 4, depends how many. When it's too much, then it's ready, you're allowed to keep it. But that's the din of peret. Does Rashi explain this? Rashi doesn't go into the details.
It's
That's peret. What?
It's tua.
That's by tua, it's called leket. By grapes, it's called peret.
Oh.
And all of those means the way
by tua it's called?
Leket. And all of those, the way the Gemara explains, the Mishnah explains, it's still like deformed clusters of grapes. So you're also supposed to leave it for the. It could be deformed because it's young.
Deformed not yet
So I think the Pashup Shat all of those means young ones, and that might mean the Pashup Shat. But in the Gemara, I think it goes if it's deformed. But those halachas that yes.
very sound.
It's already it could be no matter, it doesn't make a difference which. He's saying that every year when it grows, these are the young ones. Could be. If it's deformed, then it doesn't mean that it's not good grapes, just that it doesn't look like a cluster, that it has a shoulder and it has a point, it comes like a cluster. What? So these are considered, so whatever the halach is, there's a halach by grapes that he's supposed to give from your regular vineyard, he's supposed to vine, he's supposed to give peret and overloads. So the question is, when you're giving Kerem Ravai to you first, before you take Kerem Ravai goes to Yerushalayim, you didn't need Yerushalayim, but are you supposed to give the amount of Saniyim? Is it considered regular fruit that you first give to the poor, and then you take the rest of Yerushalayim? Or it's not chayv and peret and overloads. So machlokes. B'sham yomim yesh lo peret v'yesh lo overloads. That first you have to give peret and overloads to the Aniyim, and then from the rest you take to Yerushalayim. The whole thing is yours. Gas means the wine press, which means what do you do with the grapes? You take it to the wine press. It's another way of saying it's all yours. There's no base hillel. So that's a Mishnah. Where's the Mishnah? That's going to be interesting over here what the Mishnah is. Ma'aser Sheni, any place else? It's also. Okay, so it's going to be an Edis also. So these are Mishnayos in a couple of places. The Gemara is going to talk about it later, that it might be repeated. These Mishnayos might be more than one place. So far we have Machlokes B'Sham Beis Hillel, both about Chomish and beer, and also about peret and overloads. And the Gemara wants to know, what's the Machlokes about? What are they based on? Machlokes B'Sham Beis Hillel about Kerem Ravai, what's the Machlokes? My time the Beis Hillel. Why does Beis Hillel hold that what he says, that it has Chomish and beer, and there's no din of peret and overloads? Kodesh B'Maisa. It's a Gzeir Shavah. He has a Gzeir Shavah. To learn now, Kerem Ravai from Ma'aser Sheni. It says Kodesh here, it says Kodesh over there. That's going to be the Gzeir Shavah link. And Ma'aisa Yesh Lo Chomesh Yesh Lo Beer. Of Kerem Ravai Yesh Lo Chomesh Yesh Lo Beer. Ubeshamai Lo Gamri Kodesh B'Maisa. Good. Machlokes, if you say it's Gzeira Shabbat completely, but I think Beishamai also agrees you're supposed to take it to Yerushalayim. I think that also agrees, but it's considered mamash like Ma'aser Sheni. That's Machlokes. It still says Gzeira Shabbat can all dealing with Ma'aser Sheni, so therefore Yesh Lo Chomesh, Yesh Lo Biyah, and they still help. Beishamai holds not. Good, but the Gemara says, as far as Peret and Olalos, even if it's like Ma'aser Sheni, why is that a reason that I shouldn't be chayv in Peret and Olalos? Means this Mishnah says that according to Basilo, Keren Ravai has the same din as Ma'aser Sheni. And therefore, it makes sense. Everything makes sense. Chomesh, Biur, all these things make sense. But Peret and Olalos, that's also supposed to make sense. Is just the fact that it's like Ma'aser Sheni, is that a reason why you shouldn't have to give Peret and Olalos? Basilo, Omrim, Kemaiser. Keman Svirlu. Basilo says that Keren Ravai has the same din as Ma'aser. But who do they hold like as far as Ma'aser? Ma'aser Sheni, is Ma'aser Sheni chayiv and is it yours or not? Means the reason to say that it doesn't go that parent. The reason to say parent and overloss, it means it's considered yours or not. As that Rashi explains. I understood the most questions about the parent and overloss. I think so. I think, and that's the most question. That parent, why should it not be chayv parent and overloss? Only because you say that it's Hashem's, but if it's yours, then you should be chayv parent and overloss also. The whole reason we're saying that Keren Ravai is parted from parent and overloss as a din of Ma'aser Sheni. That only would make sense if Ma'aser Sheni belongs to Hashem, and therefore it's not chayv parent and overloss. But if it belongs to you, it should be chayv parent and overloss. I think it's making sense.
They're saying even if you darshan Kodesh.
And it's like Ma'aser Sheni. What's the din of Ma'aser Sheni? Is Ma'aser Sheni chayv parent and overloss? So the only reason why it shouldn't be is because it's Hashem's. But if it's yours, it should be chayv parent and overloss. The fact that it says here that Keren Ravai is like Ma'aser Sheni and therefore it's not chayv parent and overloss, that means that's considered Hashem's. Let's see it inside. We still say that it's considered Ma'aser Sheni, but still who do they hold like? Who do they hold like by Ma'aser Sheni? If they hold like Rabbi Yehuda, that the Ma'aser Sheni is considered yours, on my Kulo Lagas, why does everything belong to you? Why are you allowed to take everything to the wine press and use it for yourself? No, the contrary. He holds that it's yours and yours should be chayv in parent and overloss. If it's Hashem's, so then it's not chayv in parent and matnasaniyim. But if it's yours, it should be chayv in matnasaniyim. Alalav Rav Meir, period. It must be that this is a stam mishnah like Rav Meir that Ma'aser Sheni belongs to Hashem. Ma'aser Sheni, woman Gavoa.
I'm sorry, I missed this last bit.
At which point?
We were asking why would it go to the God if it belongs? It's to go to the God.
It must be that it belongs to Hashem. That it's not yours.
So then,
No, not that it's not his to go to the God. It is his. Again, no, the opposite. If it's his, if Ma'aser Sheni is considered your personal, so then on your personal, Hashem said, give Manasaniya. Give the presents to the poor from your.
Oh, so what? Oh, I see.
But here it says you're not chayiv in parent and overloss. Why? It must be because it's Hashem's. Hashem's is not chayiv in parent and overloss. But yours is chayiv in parent and overloss. So that's the Gemara's judgment that the fact that the Mishnah says that Keren Ravai is like Ma'aser Sheni, and therefore it's not chayiv in parent and overloss. That's assuming that it's Hashem's and not yours. So it'd be yours. It would be chayiv in parent and overloss.
It's Hashem's.
Then it's not. Then it's not chayiv. Then it makes sense. If the parent in overloss, if that's the most judgment. All this was to explain halacha kivad meir b'maisa. This was kivad meir b'maisa. This was the mission to show that is established like a meir that Ma'aser Sheni Mammon Gavoa. What was the Stam Mishnah? That it said that Keren Ravai is, according to Beis Hillel, is even parent is parted from parent and overloss. It must be, and the reason is because he learns that from Ma'aser Sheni. That means that Ma'aser Sheni is parted from parent and overloss. Why? Because it belongs to Hashem. If it would belong to you, you would be chayv in parent and overloss. We finished that part of the sugya. Halacha Rav Meir b'maisa because it's a Stam Mishnah. The Gemara continues now to the other point about Rabbi Yehuda b'hektish. What was the machlokes about Rabbi Yehuda and Meir b'hektish? When is it mischala? Rabbi Meir holds that it's mischala b'mezid, And for some reason, it's not Mischal B'Shogeg. We have three pshat and why it's not Mischal B'Shogeg. But we'll take the last pshat, let's say Rapada, that he holds it's not Mischal B'Shogeg, and it is Mischal B'Mezid. And another pshatim said that he holds that it's Mischal both Shogeg and Mezid, but there's a special reason why here is not good. But the Abuda said that on the contrary, it's not Mischal B'Mezid, it's only Mischal B'Shogeg. And that's why it's Kiddushin B'Shogeg, but it's not Kiddushin B'Mezid. And now the Gemara is going to find a Stam Mishnah like Abuda someplace. Rav Yehuda b'hektish mahi. Where do you find the Stam Mishnah like Rav Yehuda b'hektish that b'shogeg it's maschala? If somebody spent was netted from hektish b'shogeg, it goes out to chulin, and if he benefited from the hektish b'mezid, it does not go to chulin. The Tanan. Shilach, this is a Mishnah in Meila. Shilach b'yad pikeach in nizkar. Somebody sent money to a storekeeper to buy something. Through a pikech. Pikech means a smart person. He's not a chevesh, he's not a shota, he's not a katan. He's a smart adult. So somebody, the shalech, the sender, he sent the pikech, and the nizkar, he remembered about it. Here it says that the issue is only going to be the shogeg. If you remember, that's the reason why it shouldn't be considered mila. That's going to be the point over here. It says if somebody, Reuven, let's say, sent with a shliach, who's a pikeach, and he remembered, he could mean the sender. Rashi says it means also the shliach. That's not so much asugya. Before the shliach reached the storekeeper, the sender remembered, but the shliach gave it to the bought something from the chenveni, and then the chenveni also was going to spend it eventually. The chenveni transgressed meila when he's going to spend it. Means the customer, Reuven, he sent money with a shliach to buy something from the store. The storekeeper got the money. At that point, we have to talk about, was there meila?
How would it be? What was the meila?
He sent hektish money. He sent hektish money by mistake with a shliach to buy something from the store. Before he got to the store, he recalled that it's hektish money.
Buy it.
And then he bought it.
Oh, they bought it?
Let's say the Balabais remembered. Rashi talks about if the shliach also remembered, but let's keep it simple maybe. Let's talk about it that maybe both of them remembered, but by the time he spent it in the store, it was already remembered. And then the storekeeper, when he got the money, he himself also goes to buy something. He's going to be moel when he spends it. That's the end of the Mishnah.
Start with the shaliach.
Why
didn't it start with the shaliach?
Again, the shliach shilach biyat pikech and his kavan shelo gei etzol chenveni. Chenveni moel l'kishayot. So that's the Mishnah. If somebody sent money with a smart man, smart pikech, but he remembered, the balabais remembered about it before he got to the chenveni, and he spent it. He did buy something from the chenveni, so it says there's no mila yet. There is no mila. Chenveni moel l'kishayot. When the chenveni is going to spend it, then he's going to be moel.
I thought he's buying himself. He's spending it himself. It shouldn't be spent.
It says here that the balabais remembered. So that's what the Gemara wants to be derived from this Mishnah, that it says once you remember, there's no mila anymore. This is mamish what we're looking for. That when you are mazed, there's no mila. Here it says, Mishnah, that when you're shogeg, then there's mila. When you know about it, it's not mila. So here it says that the one who remembered that when it was belonged to the owner of this coin, so when he remembered, then there's no mila because he remembered. And you can say, yes, but
What kind of it? It's not mila.
Here it says that
means he didn't want.
No, he did it.
He remembered.
He did it
He
amazing.
didn't want
He
to
did.
use it.
So the question was, if it's the shliach also remembered or not. Here you could just learn the word that the balabais remembered. Then the question is going to be that the shliach should have been well. Rashi said that the shliach also remembered. But the point is going to be that when they remember, it's called a mezid, and there's no meal of a mezid. Meal of a mezid. We're not saying it's an avera now. We're saying that it was emotzi at l'chulin. Did it accomplish that it becomes chulin now? So here it says that when it was b'mezid, it doesn't go out l'chulin. The chenveni, who's a shogeg, he's going to be more when he's going to spend it because he was a shogeg. That's the end of the Mishnah. And that's the end of the proof. The more proofs from here, like a view of our Mishnah, that there's meila b'shogeg and not b'mezid. Meila is another way of saying, like the Gemara says at the top of the page. Meila has to do when it goes to chulin. When if it doesn't go to chulin, it wouldn't be meila. The reason why it's meila is only because it did go to chulin. And here it says b'mezid it doesn't come to chulin. the shogeg it does, and that's a proof to Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah. So a proof means there's a Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda. What did the Gemara do so far? But back to the beginning. This was what Rav Nachman said in the name of Barada Barava, Halacha Rabbi B'Maisa, because it's a Stam Mishnah, and Halacha Rabbi Yehuda B'Hektish, because it's a Stam Mishnah. It was a Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Meir B'Maisa, that Maisa Sheni is considered Hashem's money. The fact that it says that Kerem Ravai is not chayiv in Perit and Ovalos because it's similar to Maisa Sheni. That's another way of saying that it's Hashem's money. If it would have been your money, it would have been chayiv in Perit and Ovalos. And this is Tamish like if you do Hektish, that Hektish, the shogeg is Maschala, the Mezid is not Maschala, because that's the story that it says that if somebody sent money to be spent, if you remember, so there's no Mila because it was B'Mezid. And if it was B'Shogeg, the next person is a Shogeg, the Chanvani, he's a Shogeg, then there is Mila. So we found, and that's going to be the halacha, that Shogeg, if you benefited from Hektish B'Shogeg, it goes out to Chulin, and B'Mezid it doesn't. So far we did it. Now the Marz Akasha, do we not find also a Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda B'Maisa? It's a little bit confusing because the Gemara is juggling back and forth from Maisa Sheni to Hektish because the Mishnah puts them together. If we'd make like an easier version of the Gemara, we would have put this all together and skipped Hektish in between just to keep on the same subject. But the Gemara thinks we could do it. The Gemara thinks we could toggle back and forth from Maisa Sheni to Hektish. And now we're talking again, if Maisa Sheni is your money or is it Hashem's money? If what is some Mishnah like Rabbi Meir, that it's Hashem's money. The fact that it's parted from Perit and Ovalos. And the Gemara thinks that it has a Mishnah also like Rabbi Yehuda, that Maisa Sheni is your money. That's going to be a kasha. You pass in that Rabbi Meir because you found the Stam Mishnah that is Hashem's money. I have also a Stam Mishnah that is your money.
It's your money to only take to Yerushalayim. What's going on that I can spend it?
Of course, you have to eat in Yerushalayim. That's not a question.
So
You have
what
to eat in Yerushalayim. The question is who's the monetaries does it belong to? Is it called that Ma'aseh Sheni? Hashem says it's my Ma'aseh Sheni, but I allow you to eat in Yerushalayim.
It's yours, conditionally yours.
No, it's not yours. I'm letting you eat my Ma'aseh Sheni in Yerushalayim.
I mean, that condition means that it's mine.
The condition doesn't mean whose it is. We have to talk about the separate issue. Who does it belong to? The fact that Allah has, of course, you only allow you to eat in Yerushalayim. Of course, you only allow you to eat when you're Torah. Those halachas are not in question. The question is, who does it belong to? Did Hashem say, I'm giving it to you? Or Hashem says, I won't give it to you. It's mine, but I'm telling you how to eat it. But it's mine. The Gemara calls it Veshulchan Gavor.
Rishon belongs to Levi.
Right, that's not the subject. We're not Ma'aseh Sheni. Ma'aseh Rishon is not.
It has the same name as Ma'aseh.
So
it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Ma'aseh Rishon is Chulin. There's no Kedusha at all. You can eat whatever you want to. You can eat a B'tumah.
I can't eat it. Only a Levi.
No, it's a mitzvah to give it to a lady, but it's Chulin. It's a mitzvah to give it to a lady, but it's not Kodesh. And he can give it to you, and you can eat it and everything. And it's like Tameh. There's no. Ma'aseh Rishon is non-Kodesh. It's not Kodesh. It's Chulin. It's a mitzvah to give it to the lady. Why? Not Ma'aseh Rishon. Ma'aseh Sheni you redeem. Ma'aseh Rishon you just separate, you cover shame, and then if you know for sure that there's a Levi, then you'd have to give it to him. But we say we don't prove that you're a Levi, or maybe it's okay. You eat it yourself.
You take it.
Truma and Trumas Ma'aser.
We give the Trumas Ma'aser.
And you be cover shame. You be cover shame on that there's Hareza Ma'aser Rishon.
Oh, you have to say
Yeah, then you have from the Ma'aser Rishon take off a tenth of that, and that you give to the Kohen. But you don't give it as Tameh, so you wrap it up.
Then once you give the Trumas Ma'aser.
So you eat the rest. Ma'aser Sheni, but you have to also be poded on Ma'aser Sheni. You say, this is Ma'aser Rishon, and from the Ma'aser Rishon take off Trumas Ma'aser, and this is Ma'aser Sheni, and you poded on Ma'aser Sheni. But the Ma'aser Rishon, you're not poded. But Ma'aser Rishon is full and knowledge. Just as a mitzvah to give it before you separate it, then the whole thing is devil.
For butting in, but I want to know the Baalis, not about the Kiddushin.
That's all the Gemara. That's what the subject is.
So what's the difference whether it's Kaddish or it's Chulin? It's still Ma'aser.
You brought in Ma'aser Rishon, so I'm talking about.
I'm trying to understand.
So we didn't. So take out
Ma'aser Sheni.
Right, Ma'aser Sheni is Kodesh, and everyone knows that it's Kodesh. No question that it's Kodesh. You have to eat Yerushalayim. You have to be Torah. There's a question: who does it belong to? That's the whole sugya. Only that.
Whether could there be a completely different din to Ma'aser Rishon, even though
nothing to Ma'aser Rishon at all. Nothing. That's why we didn't.
Same name. That's why.
So you have to make it.
Reboot.
Okay. So we're talking about Ma'aser Sheni, and the question is, who does it belong to? Monetarily, who does it belong to? Did Hashem say it's mine, but eat it under certain circumstances, or Hashem said I'm giving it to you? That's my focus. And the nafkamina on our mission was that you mukadash woman, the Ma'aser Sheni. Is it your money or is it Hashem's money? So we said Rav Meir holds that it's Hashem's money. Rabbi holds that it's your money. We brought a stam mission like Rav Meir. That's because it says that it's Kerem Revai is Pater from Pered and all those because it's like Ma'aser Sheni, which means that it's Hashem's money. And now the Gemara is bringing a Mishnah that's going to show like Avida that Ma'aser Sheni is your money.
In which case you can use it to
which right. And the Avida says you can use it to Mekadosh a woman as long as maybe it's also to do because maybe it's not supposed to be sold and used for business, but technically it's yours and it'll be a good Kiddushin. And the Gemara talks about this. Mishnah says Bashogig, she didn't know about it, maybe she didn't mean under such circumstances, but the Yesod is it your money? Avida says that it's your money, and now we're going to try to bring a Mishnah like him. Do we not have a Mishnah that also says like Aviuda b'Ma'aser Sheni? But now, Napod the Ma'aser Sheni shalo, most of Allah Chamishi so, Ben Mishalo, Ben Sheni Talo b'Matana. If someone is put his own Ma'aser Sheni, you have to add on a fifth. Like we said, as a pasuk. Pasuk can end by Yikra. That if you put you go, you got Lish Masra, Chamishi so you say Bala. That's a pasuk. But here it says Ben Mishalo, Ben Sheni Talo b'Matana. Either you grew it, it's your own. You grew it on your own field. So then you have Ma'aser Sheni that's yours. You bought it, you have to take a fifth. Or if you got a present. The Gemara thinks that it says here, someone gave you a present of Ma'aser Sheni. How can he give you a present of Ma'aser Sheni? Who's he? Is it his money? Money. If the author of this mission is Rav Meir, could he give him a present? Is it called that he gave him a present? He's the one who holds that Ma'aser Sheni belongs to Hashem. He can't give a present. It's not yours to give. So it's a stam mishnah. So it's a stam mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda that Ma'aser Sheni is your money, and therefore if he gave it a present, the recipient now is called his Ma'aser Sheni, and if he's voted, he has to take off a fifth. So that's the Gemara's kasha. Why you passing like Rabbi Meir? Because it's a stam mishnah. Here's another stam mishnah. So the Gemara answers, "Lo, no, not necessarily. Lo Rabbi Meir. The mishnah can be like a Meir also. The question was, how can you give a present of Ma'aser Sheni that doesn't belong to you? He gave it before he was Mafish to Ma'aser Sheni. If it was Mafish to Ma'aser Sheni, they can't give it anymore because it's Hashem's. But he could give somebody a present before he was Mafish Ma'aser Sheni. He has tevel. He has tevel that was untied produce, and he gives it. You could give that a present because it's not yet Ma'aser Sheni. And then the recipient now he wants to be Mafish, so then we tell him that if you want to be once you Mafish and he says this is Ma'aser Sheni, now you want to be told it, then you have to add on a fifth because it's yours. The whole Gemara's kasha was, how could you give a present of Ma'aser Sheni? The answer is you didn't give a present of Ma'aser Sheni. You gave a present of Teva before it was that tied.
Oh.
So then you could give it. But you have to add on the kasava matana shalahumu kimishalahumu damya. That you have to say that even though it's omid, it's on deck to be tied. So you might say that the Ma'aser Sheni is in there someplace. You might say matana shalahumu kimishalahumu damya. You might say that even though it hasn't yet been tied, but it's only to be tied, and it's Ma'aser Sheni inside, they're mixed up, and therefore maybe if since it's going to be Mammon Gavoa, so it's not possible to give a present either, since it's going to be a. So you have to say that he holds that as long as it didn't separate it, it's not considered separated, and therefore you're just giving him Tevel, and there's no Ma'aser Sheni inside there, and therefore you can give it as a present, even according to Rav Meir, that holds that Ma'aser Sheni Mammon Gavoa, that's only after it's Ma'aser Sheni. But at this point, you gave him a present as Tevel. There's no issue of being Hashem's, and therefore you can give it as a present. And the recipient, when he's going to be Mafish Ma'aser Sheni, it's going to be called his Ma'aser Sheni, and he has to take off a fifth. So the Gemara, what's the word? Deflected the kasha. We thought that we had a Mishnah that must be like Rabbi Yehuda. No Mishnah, it doesn't say that. The Gemara tries again. Tashma, Apod the Netter of Shalo. Most of Allah Chamishi so word for word, same as before. Before it's talking about Ma'aser Sheni, and here it's talking about Neter Revoy, Kerem Revoy, which has the same halacha as Ma'aser Sheni. It says the same thing again that we said according to Beisila, Yesh LaChomish, you have to add on a Chomish if it's your own. And here it says the same thing that if you're being pulled in Neter Revoy, you have to add on of your own. You have to add on a fifth, and it says that your own is not after that it grew by you. Someone gave you a present. No, the same thing. Why was the same thing? Before the Gemara got out of the kasha, the Gemara was the most right from here. You see, you can give a present. How could you give a present if it's not yours? But before the Gemara got out of it by saying that it was tevel. But here by Kerem Avai, the Gemara thinks that it found the case where there is no tevel. There's no Tevel, but Ma'aseh Sheni, you have a stage when it was not yet tied. So it's called Tevel. It was Ma'aseh Sheni didn't exist here. But not the Rabbi, you have no, there's no such thing as Tevel.
The whole fruit.
As soon as
the
it
whole
grows,
fruit
it's
The
not
entire
the
fruit is,
Rabbi. It's the fourth year fruit. So it says here that you can give a present. How can you give a present? It doesn't belong to you. Money, if the mission will be the Mayor's opinion, can you give a present? You learn out, he's the one that they still holds that you learn out the Gezer Shava from Ma'aseh Sheni. And Ma'aseh Sheni, it says, is Hashem's. So this also is Hashem. So you can't give a present. Rabbi Yehuda. Don't you see that it's Rabbi Yehuda? And you have a stam mission like Rabbi Yehuda, that Ma'aseh Sheni, Mammon, Hedyot. So you're passing like Rabbi Meir, because the stam mission of Ma'aseh Sheni, Mammon, Gavoa. I found the stam Mishnah that says Ma'aseh Sheni, Mammon, Hedyot. The Gemara says, also the Gemara figures it out again, how to get out of it. Before we get out of it by saying Tevel, here the Gemara thought that it got a Raya because there's no Tevel by Neter Revaya. As soon as it grows, that he gave it before the Chiyuv of Neter Revaya came, because it was such tiny grapes. That means the early unripe grapes, tiny. As soon as they start, so it doesn't have. So it's not Chayv Neter Revaya yet. Like Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi happens to hold that even Smada is already considered a fruit, and he says that Smada, let's say the Rabbi Ola, is also because it's already considered a fruit. That stage of growth, Rabbi Yossi holds is considered already a fruit, but not like Rabbi Yossi. We're going not like Rabbi Yossi. That stage is not considered a fruit, so it's not yet met the Rabbi. So what did the Gemara accomplish again? The Gemara said, "Don't bring me any rice from here." That the fact that it says you could give a present, even though it's not the Rabbi, he gave the present before it's not the Rabbi. So even though our mayor holds that not the Rabbi, you wouldn't be able to give us a present. Ma'aseh Sheni, you can't give us a present because it's not yours. But if you gave the present before it became Ma'aseh Sheni, before it became not the Rabbi, he also agreed you give a present. So there's no right from this Mishnah against Rabbi Meir.
What did he give before they smada?
You give the smada. You give the smada.
That's the fourth year. We're talking about fourth year.
We're talking about the fourth year.
Right.
And every year there's a be smada, but the fourth year smada, he gave us a present, and then the recipient, it continues growing, and now he wants to be poded. So we say that it's yours. So he says, why is it mine? I didn't, it wasn't mine when I started growing. He says, yes, you got a present. You got a present when it was still the smada stage. So therefore, the present went through, it's yours, and now when you take off Neter Revaya, you want to be poded, Neter Revaya, you have to add on a fifth because it was yours. So the Gemara again deflected the kasha. There's no raya from these mishnayos against Rabbi Meir, against Rabbi Meir. Tashma, a third raya. So the question is that Ma'aseh Sheni Mammon Hedyot or Mammon Gavoa. We brought a stam mishnah that it's Mammon Gavoa, the fact that it's not Chayper Olas, and we're looking if there's any stam mishnah against that. We tried two, so far we got out of it. Tashma, a third try. Mashach Amenu Ma'aseh B'Sela. V'lo hispek levdoso ad she'amad b'shtayim. No sin sela, b'staker b'sela, or Ma'aseh Sheni Shelo. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah in probably Ma'aseh Sheni. Orla.
Brachos.
Ma'aseh Sheni, because the Mishnah and Ma'aseh Sheni. Oh yeah, I didn't say it yet. Mashach Amenu Ma'aseh B'Sela. We made a transaction, and I'm selling you Ma'aseh Sheni. I'm giving you Ma'aseh Sheni. So really, you're not allowed to sell Ma'aseh Sheni, but here it's because you're not allowed to sell Ma'aseh Sheni. But if you sell it as a way of pidyon, that it's going to become chulin, that the buyer is, the transaction is a way of mechalal derech mekach, that this transaction is going to be the way of redeeming it. The buyer, I want to sell you Ma'aseh Sheni, but you give me the money, and then it becomes chulin. So that you're allowed to do.
Mashach here means that he made a kidney.
Mashach means that he pulled it. That's the question. That right. That's the question. Is it going to be a kinyan or not? That's going to be the question. But so far it says, but I'm just giving this case. The case I want to sell it to you, and you're not allowed to sell Ma'aseh Sheni. But if you're selling it in a way of redemption, so then you are allowed to. The same way I'm allowed to redeem Ma'aseh Sheni. No, because the buyer is the one who's going to be redeeming it, so he doesn't have that on it. So, and I sell it to you that it should be chulin, not that it should remain Ma'aseh Sheni. If I'm selling it to you and it should remain Ma'aseh Sheni, I'm not allowed to sell Ma'aseh Sheni. But I'm allowed to sell it. Same way I'm allowed to be poded. I can sell it that the sale is going to be the redemption. So I'm going to give you the Ma'aseh Sheni. You're going to give me the money, and it became chulin. So that you're allowed to do.
Does it have to be with the fifth?
So, no, because you're redeeming it. The buyer is redeeming it, and it's not yours.
Sure, the
Sale
money,
means the
my money,
buyer's retaining it, not the seller.
I think so, but it's a side point that the Mishnah here doesn't talk about.
that money should be covered.
So maybe the money becomes covered.
Has to be. He's taking his Meister Shani and getting money.
Good,
What's
good.
going on here?
Good, so it's nice to share the money. Good, good, so we're happy.
And he's got to be Mekadosh. He's got to go to Yerushalayim.
Good. Here the question is that he did Mashiach, the buyer took the fruit. Mashach Amenu Meiser, a seller's worth. We'll call it $10 worth. But he didn't pay the money of Elizabeth Levdoso at Shamad B'Shtayim. But he didn't get around to give him the money until the price went up. They look on the computer at the rate, and he took it, but he didn't yet give the money, and the price went up to 2. No saying seller, umistake b'seller, u'maisa sheni seller. So Rashi seems to learn, the Gemara seems to learn over here, that he just has to pay him a seller. He doesn't have to pay him 2 seller, even though now the price is 2 seller.
What's Mishtach in here?
Mistake.
He went up in price?
No,
No, no, he rented. or
no,
was it-
he
gained.
He gained.
He gained.
no, he gained.
Profits, profit.
And he profited.
Let's see if Rashi says that.
I know it means business. of some kind.
Rashi doesn't translate the word, but that's what he seems to say. Rashi,
He pays him the seller with the profit of the seller.
right,
Right.
because really it costs
Because
2
at the
already.
time,
It costs, now it costs 2. The price now is two
Double the
seller
price, value.
for this amount. He
but
took
at the
1
moment
seller's
that
worth.
He did it, so in other words, that's when it
That's
really happened.
right.
Because of the reality that it happened, he only wasn't a seller.
right. And now the question is, why is that the reality? Why does the Mashiach make the kinyan? Rashi says, Moshe Chamenu, from one person from another is toast the seller. V'kana es ha'maisa, shemisha shemoshchol kano. From the time that he did the Mashiach, he already owns it. And you don't say that it still belongs to the owner and now it's worth 2. And he has to now be folded for 2. You don't say that. But Rashi says, Shamaisa Sheni Shalo, that the Meiser became, because Meiser is his, and
Meaning
it
it's
became,
foolish, right?
and it became Benikna B'Mashiach. That's what the Gemara seems to say. The Gemara seems to be right from the fact that the Mashiach is Kona, that it must be like regular Chulin. If it would, and that's what the Gemara seems to be right to. That Meiser Sheni Mammon Hediot, like Rabbi Yehuda. That's the Gemara's raya. We'll see it inside.
Not like that. They made it. It's-
And that's the most
that-
kasha.
that
You're saying
was-
that this is Tamish like a We found the Tamish like a Vida also. Let's see it inside. Moshe Achimenu Meiser Besela. Ruvain pulled from Shimon. Shimon was the one who had the Meiser Sheni, and Ruvain is buying it from him. He did a Mashiach for a seller's worth of Meiser Sheni. Well, this week Levdosa watched Shamad B'Shtayim, but he didn't pay for it. He wasn't owed it by giving money to the seller until the price now is Shtayim. So how much does he have to still pay Shtayim? No, since the seller just has to be 1 seller. This the price that it was at the time of the Mashiach. Or Mustaka B'Seller, he gains a seller he doesn't have to pay for. Or Meiser Sheni Shalom, Rashi says Mipnei, Shemaiser Sheni Shalom has a guess on Mipnei, because Meiser Sheni is his, Meiser Mammon Hediv, Rashi calls it, and therefore the Mashiach is the Kinyan. And the Gemara analyzes this Mishnah. Mani, who's the author of this Mishnah? Elaine Rav Meir, that says that it belongs to
Gavoa, Mammon Gavohi.
Gavoa. Amai Mustaka B'Seller. Why doesn't he have to pay the second seller? The Pasuk talks about being paid the Meiser Sheni. That the kesef, there's no way to be paid the Meiser Sheni with Mashiach. It has to be with money. The money is the pidyon, and then he didn't give money yet, so he should have to give 2. Ela Rabbi Yehuda. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda is the author of this Mishnah that says his mom and Hediyot, and therefore the Mashiach is the Kenyan. So we found a Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda that Meiser Sheni is Mom and Hediot. So the Gemara says this one the Gemara gives in. You're right. Till now each time we knocked it off and said no, we can fit it in even according to Rabbi. Maybe here the Gemara gives in, but doesn't give in. No, than Rabbi Yehuda. You're right. It is Rabbi Yehuda. But the kasha was we should pass like him because you have a stam here and a stam over there. That this is only one stam Mishnah that's found. But before the Mishnah before that, Yaakov said that it's in. Where is it over there? This Mishnah, the one about the first found about Reb Meir about Kerem Avai is high from parent is part from parent and Odalos. Where's that Mishnah? In Orla and also in Edios.
Also, Meiser Sheni,
So there are a few Mishnahs over
Yeah.
there. So you're right that it's a stam. You found the stam Mishnah over here also, but there's only one stam Mishnah. But the other ones have a few stam Mishnahs. It says a few times. But the more is not impressed with that. these stama dafka mali chad stama mali tre stama. If the stam shows that Rebbe meant to pass like that, how can make a stam mishnah? It shouldn't make a difference if it's 1 or 3. It doesn't make a difference. It's not lachik stam mishnah. It's lachik stam mishnah. So that's because you have some few stam mishnahs in one direction. It doesn't make it any stronger. And Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Halacha Rav Meir hold the time b'chir to kavasei. So the Gemara changes a little bit. Before the Gemara said the reason why pass like Rav Meir is because we have a stam mishnah. Maybe we'll just highlight that a little bit better than before. Before we said halacha ke Rabbi Meir hold the shasam lantana kavasei. Now we're changing it. That's not the reason. The reason is because the stam mishnah is the other way either. Now we're going to say on the bottom line halacha ke Rav Meir. That's the reason. Bechirta means B'seches Edios. And why is B'seches Edios called Bechirta? So Bechirta means the chosen, the select ones. Nivchar, the selected ones. And that's why some say that the word Edios doesn't mean testimonies, but it means the Edios. It means the best. It means the, and it seems to be that the Gemara says that when he says B'seches Edios, we pass like. And that's what the Gemara comes out now. Ma'aseh Sheni is considered Hashem's money, or is it considered your money? Did they give it to you as a present? It's your money. So Meir says that it's considered Hashem's money. Therefore, if you married a woman with it, it's not good Kiddushin because it's not your money. And we have Stam Mishnah both ways. Abu argues on Mishnah, and he holds that it is your money. And you could be Mekadosh a woman with it. Maybe you're not allowed to, but if you did, it's a good Kiddushin. And we have Mishnahs both ways. We have a couple of Mishnahs like a Meir, but at least one Mishnah like a Yehuda. So that's not the reason who the Paskin like. But the Gemara says, but one Mishnah is going to be an Edios. That's like a Meir. And you pass like the Mishnah in Edios, and like that the other Mishnahs. So that's the halacha, that Ma'aseh Sheni, Mamin Dovar.
What does that do for us practically?
You can't be Mekabel Kadosh woman.
Can't do anything.
You're married.
You can do no private masa with Ma'aseh Sheni.
I think everybody holds that you're not allowed to. The question was if it would take effect. So we stop here, even though we did a Omer.
It's a fish.
Okay, we'll stop here.
I know, I'm ready to go for it a little bit. Mine.
Maybe I'll understand it better tomorrow.
Pretty well.
Very well.
Super well. That's what I meant.
Okay, we can do a little bit more, and maybe it'll be a little bit corrections tomorrow. Is that good? Listen, so we're starting left field. We're not going to see how it comes out to our Mishnah. Related topics, maybe it'll go back to our Mishnah. Says that's a Mishnah. If you found an animal, you found an animal. You don't know, but you have to be choshesh that it's a korban because it's in the proximity of Yerushalayim where animals are both for korbanos. It might have been designated as a korban. So an animal that was found in Yerushalayim till Migdal Eder.
Migdal Eder is a
name of a place.
Is a city or whatever.
We see it's an additional border of Jerusalem. It's an exterior border.
There's this picture here that shows like
push the arrow.
Further. I think it shows the Yerushalayim
versus Migdal, and then it shows like Migdal Eder is like an additional circumference.
It's a larger area.
Well, Migdal Eder is going to be a certain place. Yeah, so it's Migdal Eder in the front. You see, and that's Migdal Eder. And then it says, means take the radius from Yerushalayim to Migdal Eder, and show in each direction the same amount. That means within the 10th. Thank you. That means within
a larger.
So it means that there's a certain area where we're choshesh that the animal that was found came from Yerushalayim. So it might be a korban. So you can't just. It's a question of a Shabbos Aveda, but you don't know who to return it to. But the question is it a full in or is it a korban? You have to be choshesh in that proximity. You have to be choshesh that it was a korban. The same distance as would be from Yerushalayim to Migdal Eder in every direction from Yerushalayim. If it was a male, then you assume that as a carbanola. You bring it as a carbanola because it might have been a carbanola. But nekevos, you have to assume that it's a shlama. You bring it as a carbon, and the Gemara thinks you bring it as a carbon shlama. Shlomim as Ola cannot be a nekeva. So if it's a zohar, it's definitely an Ola. Did I say right? And the cave can't be an Ola. So if it's Ola has to be dafka zohar. So there's no chash. If it's a zohar, no chash that it's no. If it's in a cave, there's no chash that it is a Ola. The keva could be a shlomim. Period. Okay, so that's what the Mishnah says. So the simple words we take first, that if you find a animal that's a zachar, you bring it as a korban olah. If you find an animal that's in the cave, you bring it as a shlomim. Which doesn't make sense. Ella zacharim olah su dehavu zif shlomim lohavu. It's true that a zachar can only be an olah. I'm sorry, that an olah can only be a zachar, but not that a zachar can only be an olah. A shlomim can be a zachar or a keva. So it's true that if you find in a keva, it's not a olah. But if you find a zachar, it might be a shlomim, might be a shlomim.
What does it mean to have a zivchei shlamim lo have?
Zachar muhu dehavu kama zivchei shlamim lo havu. A zachar can only be an olah and it cannot be a shlamim. A zachar can be a shlamim also.
Wow.
So if you find an nekeva, don't bring it as an olah. That we know. Only a chash of a shlamim. But if it's a
male, could be
male,
either. Could be
right,
or shlamim.
right, so you can't bring it as an olah. You can't bring it as an olah.
You can't bring a shlomim.
You can't bring a. I'm sorry. You can't bring a
zachar as a shlamim.
animal. A zachar. You can't bring it as an olah. Maybe it's a shlamim.
Maybe it's a shlamim.
Yeah, but
But
an
make
animal
it
that you don't know if it's
tonight.
olah
Can
or
you make it
shlamim.
tonight?
We're talking about a suffix, we don't know what it is.
Right, we
Maybe
found an
it's-
animal. We don't know. It's chosh, it's a korban. Which one?
Because it's near Yerushalayim, so it's
Right.
probably an open. Some kind of
Probably a
korban.
korban. Probably a korban. Which
Probably a
korban?
korban. So if it's a female, if it's a
That-
male.
it's a
we
male.
Say it's an olah. but
Mm,
then
maybe
how
not.
do
Maybe
you
it's a
say
shlamim. How
About
do you bring it
the
as?
tonight. Say it
You
tonight.
can't. What are you going to do with it? No, what are you going to do?
Ah,
I
you
can-
In other words, you shouldn't
do
offer
the lower one.
It's all different halachas altogether.
So
This
the
is gonna-
idea is that if you don't know, maybe it's holy, but how can you offer it as an olah? That's our
Right.
question.
Maybe it's a so right because maybe it's holy
Oh,
b'shlamim. That he's not coming to bring the korban. You don't bring the korban. You don't bring the korban because you don't know which korban to bring. Thank you. But a person just wants. Thank you. A person just wants to obligate himself to the money. He wants to obligate himself to the value of what's necessary to do with this animal.
In other words, and the olah is more expensive. Is that what we're saying? Because nobody gets to evil.
I think at the end
Why
you're
would
gonna
you
have
machmir for
you're
the
gonna
olah?
have to bring both. You're gonna have to bring all the and a shlamim because you don't know what it is.
But it didn't say that.
Rashi says, you don't mean that animal. He wants to fix it up. He wants to obligate himself with all the money that's necessary to get it out of its suffix. And then the money is going to be, he's going to sanctify money to bring the korbanos that are necessary. Then he has to pay for an ola also. So the money doesn't mean the ola only. It means the ola also. If it's a nekeva, then it only can be a shlomim. So you have to bring the money, give the money to bring another shlomim, or bring it as a shlomim itself.
Is there any formula that could it be, let's say, fixed this way?
To do what? To bring it as both. You can't bring the animal if you don't know what it is.
So that's to get out of that issue. with
What do
bringing
you
that
do?
animal, they're buying that animal, they're redeeming that animal with money, then using that money to buy 2 korbanos to cover that.
So one animal is not going to be worth 2 animals.
Right.
So someone is
has to
gonna-
have money.
So someone's going to have to add on money. So he's willing to add on the money. So a person comes and says, I want to get it out of this trouble over here, this mix up. So I'll pay the money to be able to fix it up. What does he do? So it seems that he's going to bring 2 korbanos, so ola and a shlamim.
Gonna double the value.
Right. Double the value. Because the animal is worth its value, and you have to pay 2 because you have a suffix of ola also. And it doesn't mean that it's ola, it means it's maybe an ola. Maybe it's an ola. So this whole Gemara, the whole first page, is very big chiddush, that it seems that you could be poda an animal even if it doesn't have a moon. Usually, whenever it says this, it's always going to say Yerach Sheistar, wait till it gets a moon, and then you could redeem it, and the money you'll use for whatever carbon you want to use. But here, the Gemara thinks it doesn't say anything about a moon. So this is the Gemara's how the subject comes in over here. How could it be poda the animal if it doesn't have a moon? On number base, I saw that the Gemara is going to say they got a moon. Or someone's going to say they got a moon. Simple, and the whole issue is not going to be an issue. But the Gemara at this point doesn't think that it got a moon. And how could he be poda an animal?
Well, you can't put it in an animal that doesn't
that doesn't have a moon.
That's hektish.
And the Gemara is going to bring in Rav Meir of our Mishnah that by Mezid, there's such thing as being Mischalel, that you could be Mechalel the money of this, the worth of this animal to become Chulin, and that's what the Gemara comes in over here. Rav Meir, period. The Gemara is bringing Rav Yehuda holds that she can't be, doesn't become a schal b'mezid. Here you're doing it b'mezid because there's no shogi here. You want to fix up this animal. So what's he going to say? I want the kedusha to go off and to go on to this money. And the Gemara thinks according to Rav Meir that says that if you misused hektish b'mezid, the kedusha goes off. So too you could say I'm hereby being coded. That's a kind of a misuse. I'm b'mezid taking the kedusha off of this animal, putting it onto this money, and then I'm going to take more money of my own and bring another shlomim. But the fact that you could use the animal itself for a korban, is that true? No. This animal, you're not bringing. But this animal you're not bringing because that's the animal you're not bringing.
What are you going to do?
No, so not letting it graze. You're going to transfer the money onto another animal, and this animal is going to become chulin. That's what the Gemara is saying. It is going to come chulin. So why can't you bring this animal itself? Afterwards you could, but now you transfer the kedusha. You took the kedusha off. Then you can put the kedusha back on again, maybe okay. Or I don't know what you're gaining. You have to anyway. At the end, you have to pay for another korban. This animal plus another korban. So this one you can't just bring it for one of the two. You don't know what it is. Is it all shlomim? So you have to take off the kedusha from it. How do you take off the kedusha? You say I'm here by taking off the kedusha and putting it onto the money. And then with the money, you don't know if that money is kedusha.
That animal is that money is one animal.
Right, and then you have to get your own
And then
money,
you
more
add
money
your
to add
own
for the second animal.
Extra money.
Right.
Bring two animals.
Right.
And whether it can be that.
And this
animal
money, you don't know what this money is. So what you can do with this money, I'm not sure.
You corrected it by bringing one of them will be
This money,
Mikhaim.
look at time.
One of them will be Kaim, the other one will be Mosa.
And I'll go to the animal dealer and I'll tell him that I have to buy a ola and a
Oh, if
shlomim.
this animal
And
was
this,
for that,
right, so this money will be. So the main point that Gemara sees over here is that according to a mayor that holds that you're allowed to be not you're allowed to that if you misuse hektish b'mezid, the kedusha goes off. He's going to be the one who says that you're allowed to do this, that you're allowed to take off the money intentionally, the kedusha of the animal intentionally by zapping it, whatever you're just going to say that I want it now to be taken off. And the Gemara thinks according to a mayor you can do that. And that's,
Even though it's Maman Gabor.
it's hektish. You're on different. We change channels. You're on the Ma'aser Sheni channel. We're on the hektish channel. Ma'aser Sheni is a question of Islam Gavor Mom. Hektish is not a question. Hektish is Islam Gavor. And the question is, it comes mischala. It is a little confusing. The Gemara toggles back and forth. Ma'aser Sheni and hektish. We would have made it differently, but the Gemara thinks we can do it. So we should be encouraged. The Gemara has trust in us that we can toggle back and forth. Ma'aser Sheni and hektish. Now we're back on hektish. Now we're on to hektish, and it surely is the kodesh. Surely Mom Gavor, but he holds that it becomes mischala. That when you misuse it, the kedusha goes off, and therefore that's the sugya of the mission if you can marry a woman with that money. But here it's talking about that you could take off the money off of a korban, and the Gemara relates that to Rebbe Meir, and to be continued. The Gemara is not going to be
And
happy
this
with
next, the next
Where do you
question
end? Where do you end?
is Kedusha Sabuv Miyam.
Kedusha giving us challah, even if it's
We're
such a thing
talking
as
about because it didn't get a movement.
right, and it's kedusha aguf means that it's not other things that have kedusha's damin. Let's say a table that you makdish, it has kedusha's damin. It's not inherently
Oh, Haguf because it's hektish.
right. It's a korban. It's a korban.
It's a korban. It's a
Right.
korban.
There's two different kinds of hektish. The hektish which is kedusha's
I see.
damin. Hektish kedusha aguf. That it was a korban. So the more things you could take of kedusha off of the animal, that's going to be the
Come back to
continued.
the
So
beginning of the concept, is that he found it. It's not like it's his.
doesn't make a difference. The
So,
question is,
so he's doing.
there's kedusha over here. It's an animal. It's a korban. You kosher that as a korban, and now you want to.
So he has
take
to
off the
spend his
kedusha.
own money to make it tikkun.
That's in order to make it a shlomim and a ola.
Yeah,
But-
he's going to spend money.
Yes, because he has to buy two. Right. The one he has, the other one he doesn't. The more things that he's taking. He's taking off the kedusha of the animal. The more things it has to do with Rav Meir, and hopefully to be continued tomorrow.
Mid-session.
So they found it, so that